C-Suite. That's right. It's time for another CEO chat. I am your host, Shawanna Kennedy, and I'm excited. And you know who I have waiting in the wings to talk to you? The CEO I have with me today is none other than Yalanda Lattimore. That's right. She's known all over. Let her tell you a lot of what she does, but right now we know her best even for her soap. Even though she's done some interviews and she is definitely an advocate for people like us, I want to get Yalanda in here. So again, we want to welcome to the C-Suite, Yalanda Lattimore. Hey, Yalanda.
Hello.
Welcome to the C-Suite. I'm excited that we get to have a heart-to-heart conversation. Ooh. And I know Dryer Buzz does not mince words, and you're going to soon find out. She definitely does not have any problem with telling you getting to the heart of what it is to be a CEO and how hard sometimes it could be to be a CEO. So welcome, Yalanda. Let everybody know a little bit about you, and I'm excited to have you here today.
Well, I'm Yalanda. Most people know me as Dryer Buzz. I went to a network the other day and I walked up to the registration table and they were like, "Oh, you're Dryer Buzz," and I'm like, darn it. I really sometimes just want to be Yalanda, but that comes from putting 20 years in the game, never having to change my brand, being able to transition with it whichever way I pivoted, because I thought about, that in the beginning. I wanted something with legs. I wanted something with longevity, and I poured everything into it. And man, to sit back today and say that I gave it 20 years, the only thing that I was really had the consistency for, it's like it's amazing. I'm on an amazing journey, and I thought I was gonna retire and chill out for a little bit, but no, this thing has legs and it's still going. And I'm as you can see, a lot of stuff going on behind me.
Before we get into all of the look, have you showered today? I would be remiss if I did not have you mention just a little bit about what you were doing in the blogging world. I would be remiss if you hit that just a second.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing about it is, I started out as a community organizer. I was a stakeholder in my community, and I realized I was around all these amazing activists, right? People who were making change, changing lives, not just mission statements, but really was hitting the ground. And they didn't have any storytellers, right? And media at the time, and still is today, it's very narrow focus, it's very limited. They have their talking points and this kind of thing. And I realized they needed a storyteller. And of course, I could build a platform. I ended up building a platform through becoming a storyteller for that and becoming known around the world, because advocacy goes a long way. And so in that, I started storytelling then. As the iteration of the internet and all the different things came on, I just kind of advanced with that. That took me into entertainment. Oh my God. Of course, justice, because who cannot be involved in justice, coming out of community organizing, but celebrities and just everything. I mean, I sit here today and I think about some of the people that I have met. As you know, we're both in Georgia, and everybody is dealing with, a former president that lives here. So, just really connected, because I was so connected to things. It made an awesome career. 20 years.
Wow.
Being the storyteller, just really behind the scenes and advocating through media, that people become known and so forth. So,
you actually represent a large part of what it is that when I think about Kennedy Media, definitely the person that I can look at and say, talk about be seen, be heard, creating visibility in your business, in your life that has affected the lives of so many. When I think about Yalanda Dryer Buzz, you have done that. When you think about sitting in a beauty salon, having conversations under a hair dryer, and then it spirals into all of this other wonderful things and the people whose lives, because of the messages that you are able to give life through your storytelling, to then now, years later, looking and saying, okay, God, this is what you have for me. Who knew? Who knew that then you are now another trailblazing moment of now being a soap maker and known for making soap. So let's talk a little bit about this. As a CEO,
yes,
Dryer Buzz, you being a soap maker. Now we watch you, so if you don't know, you need to know. Dryer Buzz, she is on TikTok. She killing it with showing you some different tools, techniques, and answering even questions. And I know she has some courses that are coming out or they're out already. And you just got to make sure. Tell us about that. How did you get into that? What happened for you?
Well, it started with a pivot. And of course, everybody pivoted when? In the pandemic, right? When I talk about being a blogger and out there with celebrities and on red carpets and press conferences and that whole life, all of that stopped when the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And so I was already following the soap making community. And I've got to give a talk on this tonight even. I said, I sold a lot of music, but I wasn't a songwriter, right? I sold a lot of movies as an influencer, that is. I sold a lot of movies, but I wasn't a filmmaker. I said, I'd be doggone if I sell a lot of soap and I'm not a soap maker. So I was like, I need to learn. I've got to learn this. And not only that, I've got to use it. And then I also saw it in the pandemic. Something so interesting happened in the pandemic. In mere days, in mere hours, communities looked up and realized that we only had to rely instantly on people who knew how to do things with their hands.
Yes.
People who knew how to make stuff, right? You couldn't buy a mask. You couldn't buy hand sanitizer. You couldn't buy the bare necessities that we needed, right? Grocery stores, things of that nature, all that stuff shut down. You literally had to go and find a farm to get some food. People don't realize that. And I was watching that and I'm like, and I knew it wasn't madness to me because I knew the day was coming. I wrote about it when I wrote 27 Answers to Create Buzz. In the beginning of that, I talked about the Great Depression. And I have always kept that in the forefront of my mind, at the back of my mind, in the forefront of my mind. And I'm like, okay, what can I make? Yeah. Because again, coming out of community organizing, I always want to contribute to our ecosystem. So I was thinking, okay, what can I make? Well, I followed this soap making community. I'm going to make hand sanitizer. Alcohol, your aloe vera, and all these kinds of stuff. My daughter was an essential worker, in the danger zone, and so she needed hand sanitizer. We had this whole process of her leaving the house and returning the house, and of course with soap. We needed soap, we needed tissue, we needed all this stuff, and I just like. Knowing that these things existed, I'm like, what can we implement? And after I made the hand sanitizer, I was like, wait, that was kind of simple. Let me try something else. And I started.
Wait, how long did you do the hand sanitizer?
Well, I didn't put it out there that I was making hand sanitizer because one thing, it was hard to get alcohol. It was hard to get the 91% alcohol. But once I made it, I realized, Shawanna, this is how it happens. When I went to make the hand sanitizer, even making the soap, having the respectability of the recipe, right, and the ingredients, and following instructions, I was like, hold up. That's just like when I was trying to do the lemonade, right? That's just like when I was doing the kitchen episode. Because we never know. We think that what we're doing now, this is forever. But we don't realize these things are teaching us along the way for what's to come.
So we think about that wax on, wax off.
Right. Everything is like it adds on. And so I was able to bring that respectability into this. And that made me doing this looks easy because I'd already been through the hardship of all the other stuff. Right. And so in that, of course, I'm being transparent and I'm sharing about it online. Everybody was like, well, hold up. Is that just for you and your family? Can we get some of that? And I was like, okay, you don't want to say no. And I just kind of opened up to it. And I'm like, well, maybe this is something I need to do in the pandemic because, again, blogging and movie premieres and all that stuff had gone away. No, there was no theater to blog about. Everything was shut down. And so everything went virtual. I was invited to speak at a soap makers conference online that went virtual because everything went virtual. But I was invited to talk about social media and talk about podcasts. And I was like, podcasting to soap makers, right? Well, when they found out that I had been following the community and that I was interested, and they were like, well, we want to pour into you now. And they helped me make my first soap. That was, the pandemic hit the United States Our shutdown was March of 2020. And we want to be mindful and respectful of those as we head into March. Millions of people are facing the losses that they had in this pandemic. So we want to be mindful. I always want to mention that. And so I made my first soap in April of 2020, 1 month into the pandemic. And I made it with the intent to do it well enough to sell it. And I added it to my website, I think in May, because it's usually ready 30 days later. And I had a sale for Mother's Day, and not Mother's Day, Father's Day. I launched it full on at Father's Day, and it took off from there. And so it's been awesome and amazing.
What is it? Two years in?
This April we'll be headed into our 4th year doing this.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The pandemic was 2020, and we're 2023. Yeah.
Wow. And it's going fast, right? At first, it felt like now, because I know you just also recently made some other big strides, right? And when you think about being a CEO and with the right positioning, having the right people and having the right conversations. Matter of fact, before we even get to, because she has recently scaled in her business. She has recently scaled in her business. But before we get to the scaling, if you had to talk to someone right now to say, they said, you know what, my stuff, whatever God positioned me and handed me, and I took it and I ran with it. How can you talk to the person that is even still kind of a little nervous because they really did have something back then, but they kind of put a pause on some of that stuff? Speak to that person right now.
Honey, I am that person. And when I hear people say CEO, one thing I have always ran from was having a business and being an entrepreneur, because I just wanted to do what I love, but at the same time, it is a business, right? And I'll tell you, when I was blogging and when I was doing the activist stuff, I thought that was a business, and God was like, I didn't give you a business, that wasn't what I was supposed to do with that. And even with this, I'm still hesitant in it. I'm still hesitant to say, oh my God, this is a full-on business. But when I go to crunching these numbers, when I have to start making some of these executive decisions, it's like, okay, this is CEO stuff.
So then talk about that when you just talked about looking at your books, right? Looking at the books, and because you do know how to manage numbers versus someone needs to be even okay to know that you really do need to get with an accountant.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Also, and they're talking about how hard, because remember, this is the CEOs talking about getting to the heart, but sometimes how hard it could be. You had a thing that you were dealing with, not only you mentally, right? You talk often, I hear you talking often about the mindset shift that you had to have even to make your business as successful as it is today. Talk about how hard that might have been for you just to say, you know what? This is happening. This is happening whether I wanted to or not, and I've got to switch it. How hard was that for you?
It comes to the point like when I could say, okay, I'm gonna stop, right? I'm gonna stop. This is enough, right? It's almost like that Forrest Gump thing, I've run long enough. I'm gonna stop. I'm going home now, right? When we feel like it's getting difficult or it's too big to handle, or you wake up and I talk to people about this all the time. What if it does work? What if every idea is a good idea? What if you do get the reach? What if you do wake up and you've gone viral? Okay. I've had those moments. Now, of course, being a blogger and an influencer, I've had those moments all the time, but I didn't have the responsibility of the product. It wasn't my product, right? This one is. And one of the viral moments I talk about going viral while I was at my dad's memorial service, right? I knew that I was going to have to take some time off. So I launched a pre-sale, something I could just put out there and come back to. And I'm literally headed to the memorial service and my phone is like blowing up because somebody, an influencer, somebody has shared it. I had a sale on CMOS soap, right? And in that moment, CMOS went viral. And of course, we got caught up in that. Luckily, I had, the pre-sale going on. And that's when I realized, okay, I've got to, get out of the way, make those executive decisions, because these numbers, there is a demand for this product. It's not just me working through, of course, going through grief and all that. It's not just me chilling in my nice little craft room. There's literally a demand for this product. And not only that, there are people that want to invest in it and all that kind of stuff. And you got to put your big britches on. You've got to grow up in this thing. And as a good friend of mine said, you can't take your ball and go home. Those who used to play in the neighborhood, you can't take your ball and go home. This is really working. It's really working. And I needed to, one, let it grow. It didn't have to like scale, but it does need to be sustained.
How was that though? What you did mention, and I want to make sure that we don't just go over that. And so, God bless you. You already know how I feel about that with your dad, because I lost my dad last year. How was that though, dealing with you now? This now moving, the train is moving down this track. And as a CEO, to then have to deal with a loss of someone that is they're the top in your life, and
right?
To go through that period as a CEO, how was that to then say, but this stuff, like you said, this stuff, I'm literally going viral while I'm in this.
In that moment. Yeah. I mean, I looked at it as a blessing, right? Because I had that just happened. I look at these rewards that happen, right? It was a reward because I felt like when I think about leaving blogging, like I had to step away from blogging and being an influencer at the height of blogging and being an influencer to take care of my mother through her transition, right? And immediately after that, when I went to try to return back to blogging, I ended up in a room with Oprah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, that's a reward. That was cool. Oprah is cool, y'all. I'm just saying. But I'm sitting there going like, wow, this is a reminder that I'm not in control of this.
Yeah.
And that is
say that again. Say that again.
I wasn't in control of this. And I'm like, even right there with Oprah, let's have this moment. But what you got to understand is this is God telling me I just did a good thing.
Yeah.
And that I didn't lose anything. I stepped right back into it and it waited for me. So the same thing when I went through with my dad and I went through that thing like, oh my God, I got to stop again. No, I did not. And so when I look at the two situations and it's like, wait a minute, everything I need is still here. It's right here. All I got to do is just keep going. Now, the hard part is that keep going, right? Because it is difficult. And you and I both, we're learning that we now have to do the rest of this stuff with that little bit of heartbreak, and you still love it and you still thrive on it because this is naturally what we do. But then there's still that little bit of heartbreak because these people wanted to be a part of this with us, and they are not in that way.
Your biggest supporter, your biggest cheerleader.
Oh, my daughter said that. She says, Mom, I know you lost your cheerleaders, but you got to keep going. You got to keep going. And so with that, I just keep going. Like I'm getting ready to prepare. And as you said, we had some scale opportunities and looking at this, and I'm having to really, truly step into being the CEO and putting people in place and putting, just all the decisions that have to be made.
Now, how uncomfortable is that for you?
It's very uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable. But the lucky part, and this is, y'all, it's sheer luck. Okay, let me just say, because you can't plan this thing. It's sheer luck. But at the same time, I have so much knowledge to fall back on because I got to see other people in this position being, and again, this is why I say, I thought blogging was it. I thought being an influencer was it. But no, that was the education that I needed here. All of those people that I interviewed, I used to always talk to them, and I've interviewed some top people. I don't want to name drop, but I have. You hear me when I say this? And I used to always find it interesting why they were thriving so. But then when they were accomplishing all of this success, some of them were fulfilled, some of them weren't. And some of them were just simply driven by success because they never wanted to go back to what they were coming from. Right?
Yeah.
And so I got all of that advice, right? Having interviewed them and found out what drives them, I come into this and I go into the next level of this with all of that knowledge, right? Everybody can go watch those videos and read those interviews and things like that. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You mean that was specifically for me? I thought it was just an interview. I thought it was just some hits on YouTube and a good, YouTube check here and there. It's like, hold up, wait, that was really for me to use in my life. Luckily I shared it with others, but it was really for me. When I talk about that, like say for instance, I'm gonna do a little bit of product placement here. I had a luncheon with a woman, Desiree Lee. And she said in the luncheon, she said, Yalanda, you need a box. I was like, girl, you are crazy. No, you're here to speak to the audience. Talk about Desiree. Yeah, I literally said to her, don't talk to me, talk to them. Because they're here, they paid to come and hear this about what product. And she looked at me, she said, no, I'm talking to you. You need a box. You need to start a subscription box. I was like, I'm a blogger. I don't need that. And here I am to this day. And every time I wrap one of these, I think about her pouring into me because I didn't get it. If you even look at the interview, you can see it go over my head. It goes over my head every bit of what she is saying, because I'm so in the moment of work. Like, this is work for me. And I got to get her to say this, and I got to get her to deliver that. Mm-hmm. But then I get to this moment in my life, and that is a masterclass for me. And I was like, hold up, that was really for me, because you don't know, you got to wait for it. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but you might have to just wait for it a little bit.
So just talk about that for a minute, the waiting for it.
You have to be patient. And I'm not the most patient person, but people are giving it to you. You hear it in the whispers. You see it. Everything is lining up. And there's a song, what is it? For my good and in my season. And this was that season. So not knowing that one day I would not only have the box, but then realizing this was a dream that I put away 30 years ago in order to spend 20 years blogging. I literally did this 30 years ago, and now it's back. And all I got to do is just let it come through. That's what patience is. Just let it happen. Get out the way. Learn to get out the way so you can get these things done. I'm telling you, it's there for you. It's there for you. And then put on your CEO hat and make sure that it happens, and put everything in place that needs to be there.
I love that. Oh my God. See, this CEO chat was hot. This needs like all the little air horns and all of that stuff, because you really did give some things to think about, because we in this chat, you like touched on so many things that is so important. You talked about a little bit of mindset. We talked about a little bit about loss. Talked about scaling. Right now you're in the process of scaling again. God choosing to turn it a little bit and say, nope, I love what you've been doing here. I've trusted you with this. Now I'm trusting you with more. So you're in the being trusted with more right now from what my eyes are.
Trust in the process. You got to trust the process. Yeah.
And
and you were talking about scaling. And I want to make sure people get this about scaling, because when you come out here on social media platforms and you are in public and you demonstrate what it is you know how to do, there's a lot that's going to happen. You're going to hear a lot. You're going to see a lot. People are going to put you on stage and all that kind of stuff. You've got to make sure you stay true to who you are and what it is you're going to do, and move at your own pace, because lots can happen, but make sure you're moving at your own pace. Like I said, I have seen people for whom every one of their ideas worked. Everything came together and they got to the top and they could not handle it. They literally could not handle it. So make sure that what it is you're doing, that it is what you want, so that you don't end up having any kind of regrets. Like I said, being a blogger, I have seen it all. I've seen it all from every side. And so I'm trying to handle this, because it is something. We branched out. When you talk about scaling, it had come to me a couple of times to put the product in different locations, getting it on the shelves, and that's another thing we kind of doubt that, and so I decided, I leaned into it, and we are now in multiple locations, whereas here I was thinking I'm just going to hang out in my craft room. I'm going to make a little product,
I think that is awesome to have watched you go through this journey, go through this process. And one of the things that you said that was so huge. So I'm excited today to be talking to none other than Dryer Buzz herself, Yalanda Lattimore, and talking about it. You said when you go ahead and decide to let the world know these are the things that you do, you're showing up as this expert, you're showing up as, and then you chose to put the CEO in the front of your name, right? It's then you're going to be tested. And you said, what I know for a lot of CEOs is they have to not only be ready for certain things to come, but also you're going to have to be mindful. And you can tell me your thoughts on this too. When I see some CEOs, because you say you know how to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, they're now telling you, but I believe you can now make gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when your sweet spot is the traditional grape and some doggone Jiffy and white bread. But now they want you to change the bread. They want you to change this. And then sometimes, depending on that person, one reason why they stop because they get overwhelmed with other people's ideas and what they believe their lane or their track should be. And so help that entrepreneur. I'm just.
Well, I'm going to say this. Hear it. Definitely hear it, but check your sources. Where is it coming from? Is it, because, a lot of times people, and this is it happens to us all the time. People, they're asking, how did you do this? How did you do that? But they're not really asking you, how'd you do it? They want to know, how can they do it? Right.
Yes.
And they will put upon you, and it could be intrusive at times, but still hear it, because there is such a thing as a gourmet. But if you can post a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on here, and 1,000 people want that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But now if you're out here saying 1,000 times, no, I don't have the gourmet, this is what I do. Because people tell me all the time, like, I got 10 soaps out there. They'll come with number 11. Well, are you going to make number 11? So I think about it. Once I've said no X amount of times, I'm like, wait a minute now. I might need to go on and add number 11, right? So, just make sure, the way I do it is I just make sure there's no malice, in what people are saying, because like I said, it is kind of intrusive, but people, they just do it. They impose. It's an imposition. It's an imposition on you when you make, I make regular peanut butter and jelly, cut the crust off and all that kind of stuff. And then you want brioche bun and all of that.
That part right there, yeah.
But, and it takes you off your square, because then you don't feel like yours is good enough. Either two things are going to happen. You're going to either feel like you're not good enough, right? Or you're going to go like, oh, I'm ambitious enough to try that. Yeah. But then you go buy all that brioche bread, and only one person buy one, then you stuck with all that stuff. So hear it, and just figure out how to process it. And we all process things in different ways. Because I tell you, like, I have $5 Fridays, and people are like, well, I'd rather have a $100 soap. Okay, well, I don't make $100 soap. I can. And I after saying no for so long, I'm like, okay, I have one for $99. It's made to order. How many would you like to order?
Matter of fact, because you said that, look, no shameless plug. Lean a little bit over to what is my left, your right, so they can see that. There it is. That's the QR code, so that you can go ahead and scan and check out her product. I'm so excited that we were able to pause for the cause to stop the soap making, because as you heard, most of her soaps, they go through a 30-day process. So we caught her in the middle of doing some of that back end work with her soap. I'm excited to have as my special guest today, Yalanda Dryer Buzz Lattimore, right here in the state of Georgia. We excited that she paused. So just let us know anything you want to say before we get ready to get out of here and get out of this chat.
Well, like I said, we did scale. We did open up a couple locations. So one of the largest antiques markets, which is here in Georgia. For those of y'all that travel to Georgia to do antique shopping, we are at Ben's Antiques. We're also at Eyelash Hair Salon. and a couple other places. I won't tell you all. If you do follow me, you'll see me in this space. I'm working. I do come in here. I make the soap, I package it, I ship it out. And I always say the QR code over my shoulder will take you over to Shop Dry Your Buzz. But listen, you do need, those of you that are looking for natural, we have the natural. For those of you that are looking, you like good seasonal fragrances, we do have a subscription box where you get 2 bars per month. We also have one if you want to do the 6 pieces as well. So lots of stuff going on. And I know I'm in Atlanta and it is hot, but let me tell you, over my shoulder here, you see we've got an amazing summer formula for our body butters, and they are flying off the shelf. Everybody's excited about those. So hit me up. And anybody that's watching, you can get a free bar. Lastly, before we go, just use the code free soap and try a bar of our soap. Just go to shop soapsbydryerbuzz.com, put in the code free soap, and you can tell all your listeners, all your viewers, they can try a bar of free soap with code free soap. That's it. That's all the plugging I'm gonna do.
I love it. I love it. No. That's what it's about. It's your time as the CEO spotlight over here in the C-suite for CEO Chat. I'm excited. So thank you again, Yalanda. Stay right where you are. I'm just going to say goodbye to our viewers. Don't go nowhere. Thank you again, Yalanda. You know I love you. I love you. I love you. We'll be seeing you again soon on CEO Chat in the C-suite. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing episode of C-Suite. This is your place to talk to the CEOs to get to the heart of the matter, and sometimes hard. So thank you for joining me, Shawanna Kennedy, as your host for another episode of C-Suite, CEO Chat. I will see you guys again soon. Bye for now.